was born in a cult. I was born in a cult. My ancestors were enslaved and brought over to this country and were tortured and brutalized. I am here in year 2022, and I escaped the cult. I escaped the cult. I escaped the cult last year. Excuse me. And when I escaped the cult, I realized that it was a cult that I was staying in. I realized it was a cult that I was living in. I had to leave it in order to see it for what it was. I was forced to leave because of the pandemic. It pushed me into homelessness. So if I would have stayed where I was at, I would have been homeless. I would have died. I was pushed out because other people were coming from outside and they were taking over our lands. Like I said, once I left the cult, I realized it was a cult. The reason I'm crying today is because of a dream I had last night. I have dreams, and they're sometimes good, they're sometimes scary. But I had a dream last night. I dreamed I was in a city, and I am in a city now, but it was a futuristic city. And I hope that this city is not the forecoming of what the dream was. I'm gonna call the dream green hat, blue hat. And in this dream, we were in this building. It was a skyscraper, a huge community of people that all lived in the skyscraper. I'm not sure why it was that way, but I think it was that way because the environment had become so harsh outside. Let me pause and wait for these people to go through. It's a very important message. Okay, I think it's safe to talk now. We were all in the skyscraper. And it lets you know just how bad society is, where they force animals into inhumane conditions just to feed the earth, feed people's populations, to feed the human ego. We call it the slaughterhouse. It's a maze of torture, a process. Going through the maze to end up ultimately being killed in the most horrific way. Excuse me. Excuse me. So in my dream, we were in this skyscraper, and we were forced to go into this course, this maze. It was like a mall. It had stairs and stairs going up, stairs going down, pathways just all through it, snaking and coursing all through the building. And as you were forced to travel through the path, you had to take certain tests, and you had to pass the test in order to progress. So in the beginning, I was taking the test, and I was like, okay. But the entire dream was about taking the test. So at a certain point in the dream, I started to feel uncomfortable because the scenery changed, and it started to look really demonic and scary. And I had people behind me. There were ladies with their children, all taking the same test. There were men, women, children, everybody taking the test. And something in me just said, I'm tired. I don't want to take this test anymore. So I stopped in the middle of my testing. And the people behind me started getting upset because they said, you're holding up the test. Why are you not taking the test? There was peer pressure. Just like it is in traffic, how humans are in traffic. People behind other people blow their horns and not know what's going on and up in the front. They just blow their horns out of anger. So I just started to push buttons just to get through it. I didn't take the test. I wasn't trying to figure out the formulas. I wasn't trying to do any of that. I just wanted to get through the test. So I just started pushing different buttons to complete the goal of saying that I went through. Even if I got them wrong, I took the test, and I just marked the answers, I guess. So the people behind me, they were getting upset. So the more they got upset, the more I would just go through the course in the maze, and I would just push the answers just to get through it. So finally I got through. And I knew I was being watched on camera. I knew I was being watched. I started to get this uneasy feeling because all of a sudden I had become a disruptor. I had become the one that was not working in the system. So we finally get to the end part, and there you walk into this room where it's dark, but there's people in it. You can't see them, you hear them talking. There's classes and lectures and different things. I'm trying to recall it because I just had it this morning. I had the dream this morning, all night this morning. And it was really weird. It was like a futuristic type of situation. It was, I don't know if they have, I'm gonna look it up, these 70s paintings where they're scary. The sculptures, very weird looking sculptures, statues that look weird. Excuse me. Everything was lit up in neon, different colors, neon, and it's all glow in the dark. And I guess you're supposed to be in that room for them to test you. But instead of me entering the course, I immediately just skipped through and I walked out the exit door. And little did I know that if you did not complete the entire course or you didn't graduate, you didn't get the green hat, the green triangle hat. So as I was walking out, there were people in front of me that were wearing their green triangle hats. And I didn't have one, although I did have a blue hoodie. And the blue hoodie was given to all the citizens in the tower. So I walked out, and there were like people in front of me who had their green hoodie on, and they wear it to hide their face. But the green triangle hat, not the hoodie, the green triangle hat would signify to the cameras that those people went through the course successfully without any trouble, and they were unaware that they were in the cult. But I didn't have the green hat. I had the blue hoodie. And at first I walked off without it on. I was like, well, I don't want to alert them, but if they see my face, they're gonna know something's up. So I put my blue hoodie on to cover my face too, to be a part of the crowd. And luckily there were other people, a few other people in the crowd there had on their blue hoodie. They weren't wearing the green triangle hat. And I tried to hurry up and get beyond them and exit the building, because I knew that if they caught me, then it would be over. And the people that were in the building were people, some of the new faces that I know here, my next door neighbor. It was so weird because in the dream, they were in my apartment. They would come into my apartment, all these random strangers, and they would try to eavesdrop and listen to what was going on in his apartment, but they were trying to use my apartment to do it. So this dream was really scary. I might go into detail about it more once I remember more of it and I write it down, but basically the dream is called Green Triangle Hat and Blue Hoodie. So I woke up this morning and it was so, such an intense dream that I just had to get online. I start looking it up, like, what is this, what is that? And I couldn't find anything. But I think what I had was a vision of a futuristic city that might be in outer space. It might be here on Earth if we survive the extinction that's going on. But a lot of people are trying to leave Earth and go to Mars. So it might have been on Mars. It was a skyscraper. It was a skyscraper. And then once I exited the building, that's when I woke up. So it lets me know there's nothing outside of that skyscraper. Everything is inside of that skyscraper. All of the humanity. So like I said, once I woke up, I got online. I didn't see anything about the green triangle hat. I didn't do any much research on the blue hoodie, but I'll look that up. So my thoughts are, it's not a cult that exists right now, and if it is, it's a secret cult that will be revealed in the future. And it made me think that if this cult can exist in the future, and there's been many cults in the 70s, Jim Jones, all of them, just look up the different cults, violent cults where people died. It made me realize that I really was born into a cult. My ancestors were indoctrinated. They weren't indoctrinated, they were stolen. They were stolen from Africa. They brought over to this cult to suffer. And now it's happening all over again. Because the slave captures children, their descendants are doing the same thing that their forefathers did to my ancestors. Their children are acting up. We just had a mass shooting. There was a mass shooting at a Buffalo supermarket called Tots by an 18-year-old white supremacist. So it's not gonna ever end because they teach their children the same thing. Be quiet until I walk by because I don't want people knowing what I'm talking about. So there was a shooting at the grocery store that killed a lot of people of African descent. 18-year-old killed elderly people of African descent. And then you have people online who are laughing at it. They're happy it happened. Which is re-traumatizing and letting me know that we are all in the cult. Whether it's racism, prejudice, or whatever it is. And I'm not gonna use that term anymore to justify anything. I understand having your own space and not wanting outsiders to come in because they're like locusts. And they're any color, they could be any color, they could be white, Asian, Spanish, Portuguese, French, African, they can be any color. People can be locusts and they can come in and they can take from what you have. And that's how America was started. The locusts came over and eradicated my other ancestors who are Native American. They eradicated them. And they brought over my other ancestors and indoctrinated us into slavery. And they tortured them and they killed them. They did horrific things to them. Look up Mary Turner and Valdosta. And as a kid, I didn't know this. Children don't know that we grew up in a cult. Thank God I was able to escape it. One reason I was able to escape it because as a child, I didn't notice that I was being treated differently from others. As I got older, I realized that I am a scapegoat and people would treat me differently, very bad, very poorly. They would treat me bad. I was made to feel less than. I was beat up by narcissists of all kinds, of every age. They would beat up on me. They literally would tear me down. Every time I would try to get forward and step forward just to live, they would tear me down over and over and over and over and over again. I know God was with me because I was only able to survive through God. God gave me the strength and the wisdom to keep going until I was removed from it. That being said, I do have family and relatives who are still in the cult. And a lot of them, even though they know about slavery, we know slavery is wrong. We know it's wrong. We know racism is wrong. We see it every day. It didn't ever leave us. We didn't leave the South. So we dealt with it every day. Silently. Because Master Boss and White Daddy would hide their racism. They would hide their racism to keep us calm. Excuse me. They would hide it to keep us calm so we wouldn't be on to them, but we knew. We just didn't stir up trouble. So like I said in my other videos, we knew to stay out of their territory. We knew not to go into their counties. We knew to stay out of their territory because we knew they were out there. You heard the stories. And even to this day, I experienced one time when I was out there working. I was Ubering and I had to go pick up some customers. And I was pulled over by a cop, like I stated in one of my previous videos. And I knew he was racist. I knew he was racist. I was terrified, but I knew not to upset him. And I know God was with me because the way he was acting, he was bullying me. He was gaslighting me. He was picking on me like he was a lion and I was a baby gazelle. Like I was something to play with, like I was his prey. One second. cop that pulled me over. He was an older man, so he looked like he might have been not a sheriff, but a lieutenant. One second. The reason I'm out here is because I can't make a video inside my apartment because there's somebody above me that is very demonic, very evil. And he does things, he drops stuff on the floor, and he follows me around my apartment, so I can't talk in my own apartment. That's why I stepped out. So pardon the interruptions, but I don't like talking around people because they don't understand what I'm saying. I've also learned that when people hear noise, they like to join in and they like to be noisy. It's some type of psychological thing. I don't know what it is. It might be a part of narcissism. But watch that whenever you're talking, or if a person hears you, they will purposely come around you and make lots of noise like that person. Narcissists look for people to beat up on and interrupt. They don't care about anyone but themselves. And a lot of narcissists are in cults and they are the prey themselves. They don't know that they are the ones that are being led to the slaughterhouse too. Back to the story. So I was pulled over. This happened for real. It was out in Stone Mountain. I was pulled over on a rainy night. And a white deputy or lieutenant pulled me over and said that I was going over the speed limit, which was 15 miles per hour. And I didn't know it, but I wasn't going fast because it was raining, so I knew not to go fast. So I might have been going 20. I think I was going 20 or maybe between 20 and no more than 25. I knew not to go fast because it was raining hard. So he pulled me over. He asked for my license and registration and all these other things, and he looked at it and he went back to his car and he came back. He gave it to me and I told him, I explained to him where I was headed to. I said, I'm going to this hotel out there to go pick up these people to take them to the airport. So he said, okay, well, slow down. I said, yes, sir. And I knew not to bother him or get him upset. But then he pulled up next to me and he kept looking over into my car as I was getting ready to drive off. And he did like this jerky motion at me like a bully that tries to intimidate somebody. He was like, what are you looking at? And he jerked up at me. I said, oh my God. And so I kind of looked, and I was not trying to be sarcastic. I just was looking, and he was like, yeah. And I said, oh my God. So I just started I didn't even put on the gas. I just let my foot up off the brakes and I slowly coasted away from him. And sure enough, he got behind me and he followed me for a good 2 or 3 minutes until he finally let me go. But I knew he was trying to intimidate me and scare me. And that was just recently, maybe less than 3 years ago, right before the pandemic. So I know that racism is still real to this day. Like I made in my other videos, I know that it's real. We were suffering it every day. And now they're saying since the pandemic happened that people are even more bold with their racism. They're not hiding it anymore. The name calling, the slurs, the attacks. The delusion of not being in the cult is all unraveling. And we're starting to see it. Climate change is bringing out the worst in people. And the more things start to unravel, the more people will wake up and see that we are all living in a cult. A cult that does not want to see anyone survive it. It's a cult that's run by the devil, that wants to send as many souls to hell and wants to capture as many people and souls and terrorize them on earth and in hell. 1 second. And it's sad to say that in this day and age, the ones that are happy during these times of tribulation are the ones that are asleep. The ones that have their life together are the ones that are asleep. They're being lulled into a false sense of security. They are the frog that is boiling in the hot water. And even though they see death and destruction all around, as long as their bellies are full, their pockets are full, they don't care who is suffering. And now I realize that even as a kid, we would talk about starvation in other countries. Over in Africa, all the starvation. 30 plus years now that going on. So the warning signs and the signals have been there for the longest time. 1 second. The warning signs have been there for over 30 plus years. Global warming and all this stuff has been foretold of, but people are so self-absorbed. They can't see their own ending, their own destruction, because their ego is tainting them and making them toxic. It's intoxicating them. It's like alcohol or any drug that gives people a high, not knowing that it's slowly destroying them. And in this building, there's a lot of addicts. I've learned that. They call them crackheads. I don't like to call people that, but that's what they are, addicts. And some people are addicts in this building, and they're not outrageous. Like the one that lives above me, he's outrageous. But there are some people who really are trying. They go to rehab here. But I can't vouch for the rest of the ones that are violent. They're starting to say that New York is, there's an upswing in drug activity, which means that there's a lot of addicts out there now. Even in the white community, the opioid addiction, those people are addicts. And the sad part about it is that they're addicts, but they're white, which means that they feel superior to others. They feel okay with torturing and hurting other people. But they're addicts. People who are white and people who have a colorist complexion, a colorist type of ideology are all addicts. They're addicted to control. They're addicted to power, which is destroying the entire earth. So I thank God, even through all that, I know God didn't have me under suffering, and I'm not thanking God for me suffering, because that wasn't right what they did to me, what people have done to me in life. But the blessing in it is that I've been so mistreated that I know to escape. I had no choice. I had to escape in order to survive. I had to leave it. I'm not saying that I left one cult and that everything is good up here, because it's just another cult. It's another environment, another cult. A cult of addicts, a cult of greed. Greed is everywhere. Within the foundations of many cults is greed. I want you to notice something. As you look down, you've probably been noticing right around the stairs, the foundation is cracked. This is a brand new building, and the foundation is already crumbling. That is a symbol of greed. Greed is rushed. It does things to look complete, but it's not. When I first moved here, one of the people said this building is crap, and I tried not to play into that, because I was in a shelter where there were rats every day, all through my stuff, rats. I got bit up by bed bugs or the fleas from the rats all over my body, on my legs and my arms. So when I moved here, I thought it would be different, but it's just as bad. Look over there. There's holes and cracks in the foundation. And you being in the cult long enough, you'll start to inspect your environment. You'll see the cracks. You'll see the cracks in the foundation. You'll see the imperfections. I thank God that I'm at that point now. 1 second. Once you see the cracks, that means you should run. Get out, because that means there's destruction that's coming. Wherever there's greed and there's cracks and stuff in the foundation, that means that there's huge trouble. The building will crumble and fall. And even before I moved in, I was told that somebody set a fire on the 8th level of this building. They blockade themselves inside their own unit, and they set a massive fire. And I was told by one of the residents that I met in the shelter that as soon as he moved in, it happened. And the night it happened, there was a fire, and people were in the same stairwell that I'm in, trying to exit the building because you're not supposed to take the elevator when there's a fire like that in the building. But they were trapped in the building. They were trapped inside this place right here. Even look up there. Look at this. They were trapped. And they said they had to try to pry themselves out using a crowbar to get out. But they were trapped. So it goes back to the story of, once you see the cracks in the foundation, you should leave. Leave. It's a warning, leave. Because you're in a cult. You're being controlled. You're being guided through the slaughterhouse. You're just a body. You're not a person. You're just a body. A source of income for the slumlords. The slumlords of all cults, of many cultures, of many races. So in one sense, racism doesn't exist because every race has slumlords and cult leaders. Every race, every ethnicity, every group of people. So how are you all different? Other than lying to yourself and saying by skin. By skin, you can identify that you're different. So that's when you can try to separate yourself from others and keep outsiders out. But when you actively come outside of your own environment and you go to other countries and you take over their countries and you enslave their people and steal them to either bring them to your own country or a country that you stole, that's not protecting your environment. You then are a slave catcher. You are a complete narcissist. You are a cult leader. You are a cancer to the human race. You're a cancer to all that lives on Mother Nature. You are the cause of the extinction of many animals. You are the cause of your own death and the death of many other people. So like I said, that dream was just more of an alert to let me know that I had been living in a cult. And if you don't wake up to the cult that you live in, you will always be in a cult of any place you go to. But once you escape one cult, you'll see the makings of another cult, and you won't be a part of the cult that you're in now. Which is why I say to myself, not saying I don't have friends and stuff, but I really have been taught to don't rely on people, because a lot of people are slave catchers. A lot of people are the narcissists. They will sell over their neighbors just to save their own asses. In other countries I've heard of, I'm not going to speak on it because I don't want to get too deep into stuff and I don't want to be targeted by governments. But I've heard situations where citizens will turn on each other just to save their own asses. Excuse my language. They will tell on each other. That's why I keep quiet, because even though they call it the land of the free, I'm not stupid. I know we're being watched. I know people talk. People love attention. They get online to look up stuff. It's gossip. People love to gossip. So when you understand that you were in a cult, you don't talk around people. And even right now, I know there are people listening to me. That's why I watch what I say. So I try to talk to my family members and tell them and let them know, like, I know we all know about racism, but we are still in a cult. Anybody that's down there is still in a cult. And it's a cult that is collapsing because of the heat waves that are coming across the South. All of Texas and all of the southern states where there were brutal things done to my ancestors. I come from the States where I would sit outside and I would listen to Mother Nature, and she would always say to me, these southern trees, and I heard that these southern trees, and she let me know that a lot of these southern trees had dead bodies on them, swinging from them. The devil is so real. How was I able to sense that? There was nothing there. Even on a calm day with the sky is blue and little clouds. It was so peaceful. Mother Nature was telling me, the southern trees, there's something wrong. That same place where you might be having a picnic, they hung people and burned people on them trees. Those southern trees. But you know what? Southern trees is one thing, but it's going on everywhere. It's been happening everywhere, even up north, in New York, Pennsylvania. A lot of secret history. If people really understood the horrors that happen on the playground they call home, they would be terrified, and they would be packing up and they would be leaving this country. And the reason I also say that what validifies that is because now Mother Nature is coming in and destroying all of what the evil ones did, the forefathers, quote unquote, of this country that stole this country. She's coming in, and the spirits of the dead that were tortured, the ones that tried to erase their stories and tried to rewrite their stories and try not to teach about critical race theory, Mother Nature now is stepping in, because not only did they abuse both of my ancestors, my Native American and my African American ancestors, they also abused Mother Nature. And they forgot that part. And Mother Nature is reacting now. It's called climate change. Extreme heat waves that are going to kill many people. Food shortages. When you have extreme heat, you can't grow crops. So a lot of people are going to starve. And it was all preventable if people would just woke up and stop being so narcissistic and egotistical and only think about themselves and actually caring about what happens to other people. But when you don't care about other people, you don't care about Mother Nature, you ultimately don't care about yourself. So a lot of people are going to die inside the cult. And they're not even going to be aware that they live their entire existence inside of a cult, a death cult. Like I said, once humans have been destroyed, majority of them have been destroyed, the seed of evil will still try to propagate, even into outer space, wherever they can find refuge. Because the ego does not want to die. It doesn't want to go out like that. It wants to put up a fight. Anyone it can sacrifice, anyone that is innocent that it can sacrifice, it will. And it will try to rebuild in that skyscraper, that dream I had, that skyscraper that's either here on Earth or in outer space, that's on Mars, wherever it is, that cult, that seed of evil. But it too will be destroyed. Because evil cannot exist within a world where you want to have peace, true peace, not artificial peace where it's a false utopia, a false sense of reality, or everything looks okay, but it's not. I mean, where everything is actually okay because Mother Nature is the one that is ruling, not people. So unfortunately, a lot of my current people who I'm connected to, they're still down there in the cold. And the heat waves are coming through. It's so hot. Even today it's hot. In this building, they don't, at least in my unit and the people I've been around, they say there's no AC. So we're literally baking in this building. It was what, almost 90-degree weather yesterday. We have no AC. Today it's gonna be 92 plus degrees and we still don't have no AC. And the slumlords have gone home because their pockets are full and they're okay with us suffering. We're nothing but bodies to them in this building. They know a lot of people, they exploit people. They know a lot of people are drug addicts, and they know that people won't stand up for themselves. So guess what they do? Like true narcissists, they slowly feed the people in this building to the slaughterhouse. 1 second. I've learned in order to survive the cult, you can't stand out. You have to fit in, even if you feel different on the inside. Everything on the outside has to appear, resemble a systematic, unified, systematic flow. And in order to not be found out, you can't speak out. That's what a dictatorship is. We live in one, we don't know it though. Where you cannot speak out outwardly, but on the inside, you know. And me having survived the cult that I've been through, like I said, because I was brutalized by all the people around me. Not all the people, but a big majority of people around me brutalized me all my life. Which is one of the only reasons I'm able to escape the cult and not go back. I'm able to leave the cult and not miss it. Because now from the outside, I understand how dangerous it is and how dangerous it was for me to be down there. And a lot of the people that are in the cult, they don't even know better themselves. They're trying to survive because they're being discriminated against. They're scared, they're terrified, they're just trying to survive too. But there are also a lot of people within the cult that look like us, that take advantage of us. They have the same spirit of other African tribes that sold my ancestors to the colonizers. So how do we escape? We can't escape. It's called black on black crime. And it's true because there's a lot of people that look like us that are not our kin. We're not of the same tribes. But yet they can steal our essence and sell us to colonizers. Even up here, there's people that may resemble my ancestors, but they're not my ancestors because they are just evil. They have the spirit of those African tribes or whoever was in Africa that sold us over. They have the same spirit. So now I realize that I don't have family up here either. These people that look like me, or I may akin myself to, they're not my family because they're just as evil and they try to come for me too. It's the look they give you because you're different. Because you may not be totally in their realm of skin color, whether it's white or black. It's a hatred that they have for themselves they try to put onto you. So I have survived the cult. I left the cult, and it's enabled me to see that even up here, there is a cult. There is a cult. And the best thing for me to do is to stay to myself and don't talk to anyone so that I can escape this cult too. I don't trust the neighbors. I don't trust anybody. And when you're in the city, word of mouth spreads like wildfire. It spreads faster than wildfire because people like to talk. And then when you're inside of a building, people can hear you. You can hear a next door neighbor talking. Nothing is private. Everything is being listened to. And it's been designed that way to keep people not under control for a peaceful reason, but to feed off of them, to enslave them, and to have them as bodies, as social security numbers, nothing more than that, as a receipt, as livestock, like pigs to be slaughtered. And pigs shouldn't even be treated that way. No animal should ever be treated that way. But imagine how they treat animals So imagine what they do to other people and what they do to animals and they do to Mother Nature. I had to have that dream to make this video because even though I knew that I was in a cult, I had to realize that it's just not the everyday physical thing that you experience on the outside. It's a mental thing. It's a psychological thing. It gets into your dreams. When you're in a cult, they control your dreams. They control how you dream and how you think. And the dreams I have, sometimes I have to realize, like, there's things that I do in my dreams that I wouldn't dare do in this world, because I know that in this world it would be considered taboo. But in my dream, I have to survive, so I do whatever needs to be done. So my true nature will fight anything in my dreams. But out here in this physical world, I can and cannot do it, because if I do it, then all of a sudden I will be enslaved and incarcerated, even further pushed down into the cult. Made permanent livestock for people to capitalize off of. They call it the prison system, and they call it for-profit jailing. Now, don't get me wrong, I do believe that criminals should be prosecuted because they cause a lot of havoc on Mother Nature. And honestly, taxpayers, I don't feel like taxpayers have to pay for criminals that are come out and going to kill them. I feel like if you're going to kill, then you should be killed. That's just how I go. Nobody should have to pay, and they're enslaved their entire life, paying their taxes to keep a criminal alive that's going to come back out and kill more people. Yet it's being allowed. So if they're not prosecuting real murderers, what are you saying to the general public? Are you telling us that we have to protect ourselves? Because you're not protecting us. You're allowing them to come out and kill people. So if they can get away with murder, then maybe regular people can get away with murder too, to protect themselves. But that's how greed is. They don't think about the totality of everything once people start waking up. So in order to really eradicate the prison system and the for-profit system, humans are going to have to start killing criminals that are out trying to kill them, get rid of them. Because if you don't get rid of them, you're going to exacerbate your ending, which is called climate change. Because no one's being held accountable. Everyone's raping and pillaging Mother Nature, and no one's being held accountable. Accountability is death. That's the only way to have a clean space within your place. And I'm not saying take it to a place where you're killing innocent people. I'm saying get rid of those who try to murder the innocent. Get rid of the evil that tries to kill the peacekeepers. Not the false peacekeepers that try to enslave people. The people that are in line with Mother Nature. Get rid of those who try to eliminate Mother Nature's good selves. Her light workers, her higher beings, the ones who know the ways of Mother Nature and the balance of Mother Nature. They're being killed. Everyone is in the cult. It's just a matter of time before you wake up and realize that you are in the cult. Pray to God you wake up, because if you don't, you will be like those passengers on the Titanic. They were asleep and they woke up. In their last moments on earth, they were asleep and they were faced with death within 2 hours of them waking up from their nighttime sleep. They were all in the cult of greed. Just like this building is built on greed, the Titanic was the same thing. I was thinking about it last night before I went to sleep. It wasn't built, they tried to make it look extravagant and had all this, but the steel that it was made out of was cheap, it was defective. I'm not going to go into the details about the Titanic, but they say that it was stuff that was happening even before it was launched. Those people were cattle. They were nothing more than bodies for insurance purposes. All those people were unaware. They think they're on their way to America to quote unquote have the American dream, which is not, it truly exists, because you cannot have something that benefits you when it kills the innocent. Just like those people on the Titanic. On that cult ship, they went to sleep and woke up and they ended up in frozen water in hell as they died. A lot of them did not even know that it was planned. They didn't know, they didn't see it. They weren't driving, they weren't the captain. They didn't hear about the rumors of people trying to push them to go faster than they should have been going when there have been ice warnings about icebergs out there. These are ordinary citizens who have nothing to do with this. But they were tricked into joining the cult, and they end up dying, just like Jim Jones. I thank God that I was made a scapegoat in certain ways, because them making me a scapegoat helped me to escape the cult and to know the signs of it, and to leave, and to not even warn people, because people, you can't save people from a cult. It's a psychological thing, but if you can wake up yourself and get yourself out, then leave and don't look back and don't miss it. Because I was bullied in the cult that I was bullied in, so it helped me not to miss the cult at all. I do wish that my relatives would leave it, but I can't even convince them to, because where are they gonna go? How are they gonna make a living? It's like being in an abusive relationship. People are like, why you didn't leave? Because where are you gonna go? You're gonna be out on the street, you're gonna be homeless, you don't have nobody, these bullies, they psychologically torture people into believing that they will take care of them. But when push comes to shove, there is no security for none of us. Clearly there was no security for me. I had nowhere to go. I would have been homeless and dead. Out in the street, in the heat, in the cold. I was evicted in the cold. So I wouldn't have made it far. I wouldn't have been here to make this video today. But just like God allowed Jesus to escape Herod and allowed Moses to escape the Pharaoh, God allows his chosen people to escape the cult and to move forward. And I thank God for allowing me to be a part of that. So I may have not got my green triangle hat in that dream. I may have had my blue hoodie, but to me, I succeeded because I did not join the cult. I did not give them what they wanted. I did not hand over my being to be controlled by the devil. I saw through the maze. I saw through all of it. And that was part of that dream last night. So after I had that dream, it was such a psychological thing for me. I had to come make this video because I know that when God gives me certain dreams, they're meant to be for something. It's more true than even this reality sometimes. Because that dream let me know that even through destruction, the ego will try to propagate itself to the future and create another cult. Because it cannot survive unless it has humans to thrive off of and to feed off of. So even in the future, when they're in outer space, where they try to travel to, you better believe there will be cults trying to control people, because greed cannot exist without people. People are feed for greed. So a lot of times it's better to be the scapegoat so you can escape. And once you escape, keep quiet. Keep quiet as you try to make your way through to escape all of the cults. Until you're back in heaven with God. While you're here on earth, God guides you and protects you and cloaks you and brings you back to heaven where you're not in hell. I'm not going to follow the path of hell and destruction because I've already experienced enough of it on this earth from people. green triangle hat.